Welcome to the show, everyone. You know, I absolutely love this show, and I do say it a lot, and the reason why I love it so much is it's got such great information for everybody out there. And one thing about networking, it's just not always about you. It might be someone that you know. Listen up to everything that we are going to be talking about here today. My first guest has been on with me for I got to get the right number. It's 5 years at least now. It was November.
November 2020.
5 years. Yeah. I have with me Anna Von Straussenburg. She is the owner of Anna Von Straussenberg CPA. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about you, if that's okay.
Sure.
My little Christmas and holiday gift for everybody today is that, first of all, thank you. Thank you for supporting me in the show and being here for as long as you have, but also for the way that you run your business. You are all about excellence and integrity in accounting. I want you to talk a little bit about you. One thing about Anna, she cannot tell a lie to save herself. And I just want to talk a little bit about you as well so that they can hear.
Okay, hi Carol. I'm glad to be on the show again. Thank you so much for having me. I started off in accounting at the suggestion of my husband, who I had at the time. He said, I was working at a school for developmentally disabled, and he says, it's time you quit that job. He goes, you should go into business. He goes, who else does their family budget on a spreadsheet? And this is, I'm talking 1990, and so it's Lotus 123, and if any of you out there know what it is,
I know
it's not the most user-friendly app program in the world. It's long before apps existed.
Exactly.
and so I decided that's what I was going to do, and I was fortunate. I only had to apply for 3 places. I applied at a commercial real estate company, and because I didn't have any real estate experience other than reading the paper, they turned me down. I interviewed for McDonald's corporate, and they were interested in me, but I just couldn't fathom telling my friends I was working for McDonald's.
That's kind of funny.
But I hadn't quite made the decision to nix them out. And then I interviewed, I think the very next day at an accounting firm, and it just felt like the perfect fit. I started off as a receptionist, and I worked my way up. And after I was, finally got established, I decided to go back to school and become a CPA. And I set myself a goal that I was going to do it by the time I turned 40. And lo and behold, I did. I finished the week of my 40th birthday. I submitted the application, so I figured that was close enough.
Well, I'll tell you something. Here's another thing about Anna. When you become her client, you are family. You become family with her. And one thing about you that I know is that you want people to understand their numbers. It's all about not just you bring your things in and then they do the taxes, and then at the end you get it all. No, you really work with them. You look at their numbers and books 3 times a year, and we'll talk about that too. But the way that you take on your clients and how they become family is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I do both individuals and business, but for my business clients, I really want to see them 3 times a year. The first time it would be in July to see what they did for the first half of the year, just kind of get a read on how they're going. The really big time is so we can do some tax planning, is I like to look at people's books in November or December and what they did for the first 3 quarters of the year or up to October 31st. And then that way we have enough information, we can predict what the last 2 months are going to be, and we can do some planning. Well, is it a good time to do retirement planning? Should we start the retirement, fund the retirement plan? Should we buy some more assets? We need new trucks because my landscaping business, the trucks wear out fast, things like that. And that's really important, and I try to explain what everything means so that I help them help themselves, that they become more efficient at their own accounting because I've given them pointers. Well, don't put personal expenses on the profit and loss because you can't deduct personal stuff, things like that.
Right.
So,
and also, she loves complicated returns. You
yes.
do. You love to work with complicated, I'll get it out, complicated returns.
Yes, I have had the privilege of doing tax returns for many different states. I've had some tax clients, especially businesses that did businesses in several different states, so I've gotten to learn many different state tax returns, and I'm really good at researching them. And, you know, the funny thing is, there's no two states that are exactly the same. So every time I do a new state, I have to research it a little bit. But I love to do research, and I have employees that are really good at research as well. So we learn the ins and outs of all the different states. And I've already gotten several of them down under my belt, so.
Well, you might think out there that, you know, tax planning is for after the new year or for close into April, but you know what, it's not. We're gonna be talking a lot about tax planning today, and this is the number that you should call. It's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. She does free consultations. She works nationwide. She does second opinions. She is rated with the Better Business Bureau. She's all about excellence and integrity in accounting. It's Arizona CPAs with an S.com. Okay, let's talk about RMDs.
Well, you know, they've raised the age for decades and decades. It was 70 and a half when you had to start taking your RMDs, which was a little odd because it was 70 and a half. And so sometimes people their first year ended up taking like 2 distributions in the same year, and it was very confusing. And they had to pay more tax than they should have because they didn't take out the first distribution soon enough. But now they've raised it to 73, and it's a nice clean cutoff. So, you know, when you start when you're 73, you have to take what they call required minimum distributions, RMDs, every year, which usually gets calculated by the company that is holding your IRA or your retirement funds. And sometimes that's a big hit to your income because it'll make your Social Security more of it taxable. So one of the strategies is to do what they call a QCD, which is a qualified charitable distribution. And in lieu of taking the RMD, your company will send it directly to the charity of your choice. And that's important to note because the money has to go directly to the charity. You can't take the money out and give it to the charity because then that way, if you do it that way, you have to claim it as income, and sure, you get the deduction, but you know, that's gonna raise your adjusted gross income, so it may limit some of your deductions. Let's say if you have medical deductions, which, you know, when you get over 65, you start getting more of those.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So, or some people don't get it quite enough to itemize, but this QCD, you can take up to $108,000 in 2025.
Well, I'll tell you what, we are gonna go to a break. When we come back, we are gonna talk further. It is the time now to start doing your tax planning. Make sure that you have the right deductions that helps you for that. And also, just getting ready in general, you wanna play it smart. You wanna make sure that you call Anna at 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. Again, she does second opinions. She also is rated with the Better Business Bureau. She works nationwide and does free consultations. Check her out on her website. It's Arizona CPAs with an S.com. And you know what? Put this number in your phone, because if you're not ready now, you're gonna have to get ready soon. It's 480-964-4030. Again, that's 480-964-4030. Hang tight, we'll be back in just a minute.
That was good.
Okay, we got to that, I see, I knew
Yeah.
that was gonna happen. Are you okay that I talked a little bit?
No, I realized it. Well, he gave me the 1 minute sign, and I kind of tried, I kind of sped up a little
That's
bit,
okay.
I think.
That's
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's because
Yeah.
that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do we wanna talk about here? Anything that you want me to, we're gonna go into the, well, you kinda did the qualifieds already.
Yeah, because
So-
that was kind of part of the RMD.
Okay, so
So we
what
could do
you-
some tax planning and what to do to get ready for next year.
Okay,
We can talk a little bit about the Arizona Arizona tax credits. So,
Okay,
yeah. Let me look that up really quick.
do you have, oh, there you go.
That's not the one I wanted, but- There, thank you, AI.
What's that?
Lately, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you something, it's been kind of crazy, just for, in general, right now. And what I'm trying to do is clear my desk off,
Oh, me too.
That ain't gonna happen for
Well,
just piles and piles.
my,
and
yeah,
piles.
my desk has become my office floor.
Me
I
too.
stacked up returns I've gotta go to clients, I have to do invoices for, and I'm trying to finish, like, I have one client that's got a bunch of related entities. Yeah, I've got a couple like that, so it's, you know, when I do them, I'd rather give them all the returns at once, and so,
I just have so much, it's amazing, I can't take it any longer.
I think we're getting ready to come back
I'm
on
ready,
here.
ready, ready.
Yeah.
So welcome back. We're talking with Anna Von Straussenburg, and she is the owner of Anna Von Straussenberg CPA. We are talking right now about getting ready for tax season, tax planning. There's a lot of things that you could talk about with this, and one of the things that you want to talk about is what to do to get ready.
Yeah, well, one of the things is, if you know, a lot of people are phased out of being able to itemize, but for some higher income people, you know, they do have an opportunity to do more charitable donations, and one of the strategies I heard recommended was to kind of, group your donations. So maybe you do 1 year where you don't donate quite as much, and you take the standard deduction, and the next year you would bundle all those donations up that you would give to, let's say, the church or to whatever charity, like, let's say a lot of people like the food bank, and, you know, whatever charities dear to your heart.
Yeah.
You know, you can bunch up those donations and give them in 1 year rather than spreading them out over 2 years. So that you get the itemized deduction, the charity gets the same amount, but you're able to deduct it because you've gotten over that threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's now 26,000, maybe more, for, it keeps going up. You know, it's funny, for years I never tracked the standard deduction because my clients almost never took it. My clients tend to be the kind of people that were able to itemize because they owned a house, they had, you know, charities they supported, they paid a lot in taxes. And now I'm having to remember that because everybody's getting into where they're taking the standard deduction. But we want you to be able to think ahead and do some planning. And then that also leads to another thing.
The tax credits.
Yeah, well, Arizona has several tax credits you can take. The smallest one, which I think is only $200 per person or $400 married filing joint, is the school, public school tax credit, where you give for extracurricular activities. And then there's also the qualified charitable donation that you can give to various qualified charities. I think that's about $2,000 for married filing joint. And then they have also a foster care credit. And then there's the school tuition credit, which is a really interesting one because married filing joint, you can take up to $3,000, but it's actually a two-piece credit. You get what they call a switcher credit. So if you give the maximum, it actually shows up on your tax return in two different places, but you get the whole amount. So, provided your taxable income and your Arizona taxes are high enough to allow you to deduct that. If you can't deduct it because your income and your taxes for Arizona is too low, it can be carried over. But, for higher income people, that's a real way to save on the taxes and give to the charities, help charities now, because there's a lot less government support for people out there. So, you're still paying out the same amount in dollars, but you're paying it to where you think it's most important.
Her phone number is 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. Check her out on her website. It's ArizonaCPAs.com. I want to talk a little bit about people who, because you love this too, you love real estate. I know that you've talked about this before. And, there's so much to get ready for. You own multiple properties and things like that. You want to talk about anything there?
Yeah, well, that's a good idea to start getting ready. Maybe pull out your prior year tax return that shows what you deducted and start gathering up those expenses. Because people would pretty much know now it's December and you've probably already collected your December rent from your tenants, because most of the time it's due on the 1st. You probably know most of your expenses. And so if you start gathering it up, I know some of my best clients do it on a spreadsheet. And, these days, most people have access to a spreadsheet of some sort, whether it's the Google Sheets or the Excel. And don't say you're too old to do it. My mom was in her 90s and she used to do an Excel spreadsheet.
Well, of course your mother did that.
Well, my dad taught her, how to run a computer, and she just, went crazy with it. She once she realized she liked it.
Well, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree.
That's true. That's true. My dad was an engineer, and my mom was more of the arts and science type of arts and entertainment and music type of person. But when she learned the computer, boy, she took off like crazy. She was there at 92 streaming on her iPhone and doing Zoom calls on her iPhone because she wanted to do FaceTime with people. And so you're not too old to do technology.
A lot of people, they pull that card,
Yeah.
But I do see a lot of people who are seniors and older people that are using it. And really, you have to, because if you don't jump onto the bandwagon with this, it's going to make it probably so much harder for you. Plus, if you don't have it all together on a spreadsheet, the person who's doing your taxes has to do it, you're paying more because they're taking more time.
Yeah. And we take pencil and paper, I do have some
anything.
clients that write it down in pencil and paper, and that works, but it's so much nicer if it's on a nice spreadsheet if you can do it. But I really like to support people in their personal growth. I like to adopt my clients. I really try to get to know them. And the reason I try to get to know them is the more I know them, the better I can help them.
Well, let me just say this. You don't just do that. I mean, I've heard a lot about you. I've been getting to know you last 5 years. And one of the things that I know that you have done several times is that if you're a client, you want to get to know what they do, you'll actually work with them to come to their place and really look at what they do, get really deep into that. Then how many CPAs are going to do that? Not very many.
Yeah, for my business clients, it's really important that I understand their business. And it's interesting, I brought on a new client last year who had quite a large manufacturing outfit, and the company had been in business since, I think, the very early 70s, maybe late 60s.
Wow.
And he said, I was the first CPA that ever visited it. And it was great because I had, seen their prior tax return with 32 pages of fixed assets. And so I go look at their plant, and oh my goodness, I see where all these assets are. It's all this machinery, lots and lots and lots of it. Big machines, little machines, all kinds of things. Like, well, is this computer still being used? And I looked over, and here is a computer out in the workshop that was very old, but they still used it for some particular small function. And I always say it's good to make sure that what is showing up in your tax return as assets or whatever is accurate, because you know what? For businesses, sometimes they have to pay, local tax, property tax on some of their equipment. And so it's important that that schedule be accurate.
Well, you see, that's what she does. She helps people out. There's also a lot of people that, I have to talk about this. I think I've talked about it many times now. And that is, you do both individual and business taxes, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of people who are solopreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you help them as well. It doesn't mean that when you're working with a CPA, they always think, you have to have a lot of money. You don't. Also, we have to talk about this too, for the people that try to do it on their own, and your thoughts on that, and how many times when you have done a second opinion on it, have you found money that's on the table there?
Almost every time. I have found errors in every single return. There was one person that had done her own return, and she actually had a notice from the IRS, and she had left off a significant portion of income. But I actually did save her money, because they were saying, well, she owed X amount of dollars in taxes, but they hadn't counted in any of her business deductions. So I did help her save money in the long run, because the IRS is already saying, you didn't report this income. And then when I talked to her, I discovered, well, you've got expenses against that income, so we can save you money. So I would guess it is 100%.
100%, you guys. Well, I'll tell you what, this time of the year, a lot of people think it's not that time. We kind of laid back, we get lazy. This is the best time of year to start doing your tax planning for this year, so that you're all ready going into the next year. And you're not like scrambling, which is a lot of times I'm sure people do all the time as well. What are your final words today?
My final words is, hey, use this time at the end of the year. Sometimes people take extra time off of work, but get yourself a little organized. I always make it like a kind of a cleansing process to go through my paperwork and get rid of the old stuff.
I'm cleansing already. And I'll tell you something, folks, it's the best time to do this. Give her a call. It's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. It's ArizonaCPAs with an S.com.